Actually, we're missing a counselor, aren't we? We're missing one for a quorum, aren't we? Councilor Dela Cruz, Gonzalez, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're missing one. Good evening, counselors. It is 7 o'clock. We are, I believe, one short of a quorum. I see Councilor De La Cruz, Councilor Gonzalez, Councilor Abdu, and I think that's it so far for members. Are there any other city councilors that I'm not seeing right now that are here? If not, we are short one. And so as soon as we have one more city councilor, we will begin our meeting. Oh, and I see one coming in right here. So I do appreciate your patience, counselors. And I see Councilor Levy. Welcome, Councilor. With you, we now have a quorum. So I'm calling the Lawrence City Council meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. And pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this public meeting of the Lawrence City Council for the City of Lawrence, Massachusetts is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted, but the public can listen and/or view this meeting while in progress by use of the Facebook and YouTube access sites referenced in this hearing notice. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearings designated for public comment by use of the web and phone access provided at both the Facebook page, our YouTube page, and here on our Zoom page. So with that, Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilor Levy,
Present.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Present.
Councilor Selena Reyes, Councilor Selena Reyes, Councilor Abdu,
Present.
Councilor Payano, Councilor Payano, Councilor De La Cruz,
Present.
Councilor Rodriguez, Councilor Rodriguez, Councilor Estela Reyes, Council President LaPlante.
Present. I want the councilors to know that I received notification from Vice President Estela Reyes that she will not be joining us this evening. She's attending to a personal matter. There was actually a funeral out of state that she is attending this evening, and sends her regrets that she's unable to be here at tonight's meeting. So I wanted you to be aware of that. At this point, would you please join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. And now, will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
The Republic.
United States of America.
And the
The
nation.
Republic
On the
for
God.
which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
Indivisible.
with liberty,
justice.
Justice for all.
Thank you, counselors. I just wanted folks to know that we are tonight, for the first time in some time, we are now broadcasting live on channel 22 on both Verizon and Comcast. And so as we try to open this thing up more and more as quickly as we can, as safely as we can, I just want the counselors to know that we are now on channel 22 and it's happening as we speak. Councilors, we do have minutes for city council approval. We have the March 16th, the April 6th, and the April 20th minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor De La Cruz, seconded by Councilor Gonzalez. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Bless you.
Council Estela Reyes. Noted. Councilor Rodriguez. Noted. Councilor De La Cruz.
Yes.
Councilor Payano. Noted. Councilor Abdu.
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes. Noted. Councilor Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilor Levy.
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the minutes for those three meetings have been adopted. At this point, we are going to be a part of public participation. Any members of the public who wish to speak this evening may, as always, please leave your name and address for the record. Please leave your comments in less than 2.5 minutes, and clerk, at the 2-minute mark, please ring a bell or give some sort of notification that we're approaching the end of the 2.5 minutes. The first person that I see this evening with his hand raised is Mr. Mali. Mr. Mali, welcome. Your name again and address for the record, please.
Humayun Mali, 53 Chestnut Street. Good evening, honorable members. In this greatest pandemic of the century, our fellow citizens dying and sick, Lawrence moving forward with the Honorable Kendrick Vass as a great provisional mayor for our city. We need contract for Lawrence Police now. We, the Laurentian, are proud of the leadership of Honorable Kendrick Vasquez. We are proud support such an Honorable Kendrick Vasquez as a provisional mayor. In this global pandemic, Lawrence Police Department, with the impeccable leadership by Honorable Chief Roy Bass, has done an excellent job. We are united to say Blue Lives Matter. Lawrence Police deserve the best contract now in this important election year. We, the citizen, support candidates who support contract for Lawrence Police officers and support Lawrence Police Union. In this darkest era of human history, our DPW workers are working so hard. We support them. Lawrence Public School, with the impeccable leadership by Honorable Superintendent Cynthia Paris, moving forward. We support Lawrence Teachers Union. We respectfully request from Honorable Superintendent Cynthia Paris help our safety officer Millie. Officer Millie as an excellent safety officer, loved by many parents and children. Honorable Superintendent Cynthia Paris, please help safety officer Millie. Our city, the great immigrant city, are proud to be the city that is the leader in support of union. We need a contract for Lawrence Police, support firefighters. Lawrence always is strong, always unite. Honorable Cynthia Paris, please help safety officer Millie. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on any matters this evening, public participation?
Hi, this is Derek Mitchell, and I'd like to speak about the loading and unloading zone for
Mr.
the
Mi-
Revolving Kitchen.
Mr. Mitchell, we have a public hearing on that. I would advise that maybe that's the time to speak and you'll have as much time as you need.
Oh, apologies. Sorry about that. I'll wait for
No
that.
worries. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak during public participation this evening? Hearing none, the public participation section is now closed. Councilors, I'm going to ask, we have a couple of colleagues who are trying to get in and they're not able to, they're having some problems. Can I get a quick motion to recess just to get them the codes that they need and then come back on as quickly as possible? Is there a motion to recess?
Second.
To make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Motion to take a recess by Mr. Abdu, second by Mr. Gonzalez. We'll get in as soon as we can. A roll call, please.
Councilor Estela Reyes. Noted. Councilor Rodriguez. Noted. Councilor De La Cruz.
Yes.
Councilor Payano. Noted. Councilor Abdu.
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes. Noted. Councilor Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilor Levy.
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes. The motion passes. We're in a recess. We won't be long. We're just going to get some folks some codes and we'll be right back. And so just stay with us. We're in recess at this point. Thank you.
Councilor LaPlante, the web address listed on the city council agenda is also not working. Is there a way that it will be reposted somewhere publicly to be able to zoom in as well?
So I just went on to the May 4th agenda and did this right there. I just typed it all in. So I don't know why there's issue. That's how I got my code. So
Got it. Okay, I'll keep trying. Sorry to intervene.
no worries. Try right now, and we're in a recess, and we'll see what we can get people.
Mr. President, before we leave him,
We're already left. We're already in recess. Wait, yes, Councilor Levy.
are we gonna use it the same code and password for us?
Everything's the same. This is nothing unusual tonight. We have the same meeting code. I'm going to say it out loud. It's meeting ID 823-2531-6986. I'm going to repeat the meeting ID number. 823-2531-6986. And the passcode is CC542021. Again, the passcode is CC542021. We're still in recess. And as soon as our colleagues who reached out to me get on board, we are going to ask for a vote to come out of recess. And I'm going to ask the clerk when they have a chance to find out why this is not working. This is unusual. As a reminder, we are currently in a recess. I do expect us to come out of recess soon. We've encountered, not to be unexpected, I guess, some technical glitches. So we do appreciate your patience. And as soon as we get the counselors on board here, we'll be ready to go. And I think we're having a glitch with one counselor. And as soon as that's finished, we're going to be right back in. So thank you again for your patience.
Council President, she should be on the room waiting.
Thank you very much. I think all the councils are with us now, and thank you so much. This is our first time having a glitch like this, so I apologize to everyone. Usually this is not the part where we get caught up on stuff, but let's find out in the future what happened this evening with the agenda, and we'll see that hopefully it doesn't happen again. So at this point, I'm looking for a motion to come out of recess.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Rodriguez. I didn't get the second. By Mr. Gonzalez. By Mr. Gonzalez, I think I heard that one. Roll call, please, clerk.
Counselor Levy,
Yes.
Counselor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Counselor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Counselor Abdul,
Most certainly. Yes.
Counselor Payano,
Yes.
Counselor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, we are now currently out of recess, so thank you, counselors. Public hearings, document 16119. I just want to make sure everyone's aware that it's a four-way stop at Bailey and Phillips and Abbott and Phillips. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
This is Joyce Bradshaw. Do you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Clerk Bradshaw.
Okay. Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the City of Lawrence revised ordinances are hereby further amended by adding the following new paragraph to section 10.28.100A of the municipal code, stop signs and flashing red signals. The following paragraphs in their appropriate alphabetic order. A, stop signs, Phillips Street, northbound and southbound drivers on Phillips Street at Abbott Street, Phillips Street, northbound and southbound drivers on Phillips Street at Bailey Street. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Thank you very much. The public hearing for this document is now open. Is there anybody in the public who wishes to speak on this item? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what is the motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilor Gonzalez, seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes, I believe.
Yes.
Discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. The next item is document 23319. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the City of Lawrence revised ordinances as are hereby further amended by adding the following new paragraph to section 10.36.260 of Municipal Code, 15 minutes parking to be inserted in the proper alphabetical order. South Union Street, east side, from point 131 feet northerly of the intersection of Abbott Street to a point 151 feet northerly of the intersection of Abbott Street. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
The public hearing is now open. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what is your motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion to
Second.
approve by Councilor Levy, seconded by Councilor Gonzalez. Councilor Levy, I had a chance to speak with the individual who requested this, and they wish that this could be amended just for the times that they need it. They were looking for the 15-minute parking to be between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. for that 15-minute parking. Would you make that part of your motion?
I will.
A motion is now made for that time restraint, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., 15-minute parking. Any discussion on this matter?
Yes.
Councilor Levy.
There is any reason for that request?
The request is there because they're looking to have folks come in like the DoorDash and getting food a little bit quicker rather than staying there for a longer amount of time. So they're looking to move traffic in front of that restaurant of that area.
So after 11, it's going to be for how long?
Yep, no restrictions.
No restriction, just only from 6 to 11.
6 in the morning to 11 at night. That's their hours of operation.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other discussion on this matter? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. The next document is document 38319. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the City of Lawrence revised ordinances. I hereby further amended by adding the following new paragraph to section 10.36.260 of the municipal code, 15-minute parking, to be inserted in the proper alphabetic order. Lawrence Street, east side, from a point 25 feet northerly of the intersection of Sunset Avenue to a point 45 feet northerly of the intersection of Sunset Avenue. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard on this matter shall be afforded the opportunity.
The public hearing for this item is now open. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Council, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilor Gonzalez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Selena Reyes. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. The next document is document 400/19. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input, provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations and effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the City of Lawrence revised ordinances are hereby further amended by adding the following new paragraph to section 10.28.00A of the municipal code, stop signs and flashing red signals. The following paragraphs in their appropriate alphabetical order. Stop signs, Prospect Street, northbound and southbound drivers on Prospect Street, at Knox Street, and Ferry Street. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard on this matter shall be afforded the opportunity.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this matter?
Council President?
Councilor De La Cruz?
Yes, I would like to say that that street is very dangerous and it's so hard to cross around there. It's impossible if you're walking around there. Then I think we should vote for the 4 stop sign because to avoid any accident or any we have a lot of drivers running on Prospect Street. Then having the 4 stop signs will help to prevent. And in the other side of which is already Methuen, it's still Lawrence, but it's a lot of business around there. Then the double parking affect the way the visibility of the area. Then my request is to please vote to put the 4 stop sign for the safety of the community.
Thank you very much, Councilor De La Cruz. This is, of course, part of the public hearing, and I'll be looking for you at the public hearing ends for a motion. Is there any members of the public who also wish to speak on this matter? The public hearing is now closed. Councilor De La Cruz, what is your motion?
A motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Gonzalez. Discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. The next item is document number 217-20, one-way traffic, Ware Street from, start from the beginning, 21720. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the City of Lawrence revised ordinances by adding the following subparagraph to section 10.28.040 of the municipal code, one-way streets and alleys, in the proper alphabetical order. Weir Street from Corbett Road to Stevens Street in an easterly direction. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard on this matter shall be afforded the opportunity.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Is there any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilor Gonzalez to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded, I think, by Councilor Reyes. At this point, councilors, this is in my district. I would like to hand off the gavel to the vice president who's not here. So the next senior person is Councilor Abdu. I'm going to hand the gavel over to Mr. Abdu for the purposes of making a motion. Mr. Abdu, will you please take the chair?
Yes, sir.
Thank
With
you.
that- With that, the public, excuse me, Mr. LaPlante, public hearing is closed. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, through Mr. Gonzalez, I'm hoping that you can entertain an amendment to this motion. I'm going to put on the screen right now the amendment. And hopefully you can see that. This is there was some problems. If you've been on Ware Street, it's a very narrow street. And if you've gone up and down the street, it's very difficult to traverse. It's a challenge. There are cars parked on both sides. And a resident came to me and asked if we could make it one-way street. And this is, as you may know, off of South Broadway in a small section of Mount Vernon that I represent. And we put this on the agenda. And in so doing, we got a recommendation, or we got a recommendation from the police department. They said they wanted to get the city engineer's input on this matter. And so we got the city engineer's input. The city engineer has recommended that we not make it a one-way street. They understand, the city engineer understood the issues that we're facing on that street and said that the way that we might want to consider dealing with it is to allow for parking on one side and not on the other side. We already have that right now with parking on the north side and no parking on the south side. And what this amendment will do is make it consistent from South Broadway all the way up to Corbett, keeping it two-way street, but allow for parking on one side and not parking on the other. And so this is an amendment that you see on the screen right now that I asked the city attorney to draft in the hopes that the council can adopt it and to substitute this for the one-way, because I think this will work. This past Sunday, I went up and down Ware Street. I've had a chance to talk to many residents, many different opinions and viewpoints, but I feel comfortable representing the people here that they're willing to give this a chance. I remember our good friend, former Mayor Dan Rivera, when he was on the council with us years ago, would say, let's give this a chance. If it works, we keep it. If not, we're not married to it. We can change it. I made a commitment to the neighbors that if we go with this, let's see how this works. If it doesn't work, we're gonna rethink things through and see if there's another way to attack this. But this is based on the city engineer's recommendation. Let's see if this works. So with all that, Councilor Gonzalez, would you be willing to accept this as a friendly amendment?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Vice Chair,
Mr. Rodriguez.
I just want to make sure that we reading the recommendation from the city engineer and see what he's recommending and match it up with the current amendment to see if it is doable based on what they saying
Thank
at
you, Mr.
their
Rodriguez.
office, at the engineering office.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. LaPlante, I believe you have that document, correct? Could you put that up on the screen or in the chat?
I'm gonna look for it right now, Mr. Chairman. Let me see if I can find, here it is. I think, can you see that, Mr. Chairman? No? Okay, hold on.
No.
Okay,
Or you could send it, or have the clerk send it to the clerk and have her send it to Mr. Rodriguez and the,
Oh, I have it in front of me. I just
Okay.
reading it. I just want to make sure that we all
okay.
understand what they recommending.
do you see now, Mr. Chairman?
Uh,
I have it on the screen, I think.
yes.
Do you want me to go right down to the recommendation section?
Yes. Because according to what I see here, he's recommending to keep it on as two ways
Correct.
and just allowing parking on one side of the road.
Good evening. This is Felix, city engineer. I also provided a map. If you keep going down, you can kind of see.
Yeah, but we have the same issue, Phillips. Black and white. We don't see that. We don't see that.
You don't see that?
No, not at all.
Mr. Rodriguez, look on the screen. It is pretty vivid on the screen.
So I think what you see right now is the existing conditions. You have between Fowler and South Broadway, you have no parking, I believe, on the south side, and then it flips. But then what I propose is just to stay more consistent. So I think if you keep going down, this is what I propose. It's just no parking. It's been a while since I wrote this, so I'm trying to remember. But pretty much there's no parking on one side and parking on the other side. So we could still have two-way parking. I mean, excuse me, two-way traffic and just have parking only on one side. And this will make sure that first responders could go and do their job safely and get to their destination safely without any hiccups.
So keeping it two-way and parking on only one side, prohibiting parking on the other side. Essentially, what you're recommending is keep it as is and prohibiting parking on one side.
That is correct. Yes.
Nothing else. Just the prohibition of the parking.
Yeah.
on
So no
one side of
parking,
the
no
road.
parking on the south side of Weir Street. So it's just all the way consistent. Is what we have now is somewhat confusing. So
So what was the motion? Can you come, Mr. Barcia, can you repeat the motion?
Madam Clerk, if you would, please repeat the motion as amended by Mr. Gonzalez and Mr. LaPlante.
One second. So it'd be Ware Street, south side, entire length. Ware Street, south side from South Broadway to Fowler Street. And Ware Street's for its entire length,
What, two ways or one way?
one way.
No. Not one way.
So essentially, this is not, we're not following. And why, Mr. Engineer, I mean, Felix, why do you recommend to keep it as two-way and not one way? I mean, there was any reason based on the engineering studies as of why not going one way and keeping it two ways? I mean,
the reason why usually when you want to go one way, you want to have it in pairs. So meaning you would like to have two streets
Yeah, that's what I think.
going one way. So you have one street going one way, let's say north, and then the other street will be the one way going south.
What's the, do you know, like, an estimate length of the entire road that we're proposing today to change it to one way? Or at least how many blocks?
I believe it's 2 blocks, but I can't, I don't know. I don't have, I believe if you, in my report, I think I might have put the existing, what we have for our length. I typically like to do that. So it might be in the report. I just can't remember the length right now.
I said that I seen the width, as of why it is important to keep it like that. Okay, the point from Point Bend at 247 feet easily of the intersection of Stevens. Okay. So, Councilor, the only thing that I see here is that, people that if we change it to one way, as the engineer says, people are gonna have to go all the way to the end to be able to take another road and come back to the beginning of the road. That is very inconvenient sometimes if you don't have another road right next to it. That is going the opposite direction of what we're changing. I don't know if you've seen.
So I didn't recommend a one way. I recommended keeping it a two way,
that's
just
what I'm
just having parking on one side.
I don't know if councilors, if you remember changing a couple of roads, probably like two meetings ago, that the proposed was two streets parallel one each other to go one way and the other one on the opposite direction, because that's the proper way to do it, as the engineer says. I think that, if it is not convenience, we can definitely take a look at that. And probably, Felix, can you send that out to a traffic specialist, up to an outside source to do another study?
Yeah, we could have two studies. One study of having it one way, and then the other study is having it as a two way.
Because I know that to change it to one way, at least another street have to be coming in the opposite direction, right?
Excuse me. Typically, you want to do that. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but it's preferred.
Mr. Rodriguez, did you have any further questions of Mr. Garcia or Mr. LaPlante?
No, I mean, I think that
I think the main issue is as of now we have parking on both sides and we have two-way traffic. And if you have parking on both sides and you have a fire truck trying to go through, it's gonna be difficult if you have another car going the opposite way. So they pretty much, the fire truck will have to wait for that person to park so they could go through. So that's the issue we have right now. So the solution is either you have a one way, you can have parking on both sides, or you could just have a two way and only have parking on one side. The main thing we want to do is provide enough space for first responders to go and do their job. So what I'm proposing is instead of having a one way, just keep it a two way and just have no parking on one side, and that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Payano, sir.
Thank you, Chair Abdu. I guess my question is, knowing Ware Street, I know that there, a lot of the residents there have, parking spaces. I do know that they use, street parking. I'm trying to remember like how prevalent street parking is over there, in particular during the winter. I think the only concern that I would have is that, during the summer months, maybe that's not such a big deal, unless people are, I guess, having extra people over. But during the winter time, I wonder if limiting parking would be a concern. So I'm wondering if somebody, and maybe President LaPlante, you could sort of speak to that, because at the moment I can't recall the street during the winter time.
Mr. LaPlante.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Counselor. So You know, there is, as you rightly noted, Mr. Chairman, that there is parking in driveways along there, and it is patchwork on both sides of the street. So you have one car parked maybe in front of this house and one parked up the street, down across the street. And so as you're going, you're doing this kind of slalom run, either up or down the hill. It's, you know, in looking at this and, you know, over time, my sense is that if you consolidate the cars on one side, you're probably not going to have the problem that you're facing today. And I just wanted to amplify. I think some of my colleagues were rightfully talking about the one-way aspect of it. The police department is not recommending a one-way based on the city engineer. So the amendment that we're looking at today is having a two-way. It's not going to be a one-way for the very reasons that some of the colleagues have talked about, which is going up and around. If you're a fire, police or fire, you might have to go around the block to get to where you need to go. And that's the problem with the one-way. The other challenge with the one-way, of course, there's the law of unintended consequences. We have Gilbert Street, Sylvester Street. We've got, you got Shaw, you got Stevens. All these other streets are going to be impacted by a change of the traffic pattern, which is why I think the brilliance of what the city engineer provided for us is to give this a chance, this one side parking, to allow for both emergency vehicles, whether it's plowing, EMS, police, fire, the opportunity to go up and down the street, to try to not make it dangerous as cars are coming down and going up at the same time, because you got this kind of chicken thing going on in the middle of the street. And it's a challenge, right? I wish there was an absolute 100% perfect thing, but I think what the engineer, I think, is making a good point. Let's give this a shot. Let's review this thing in a year. It may work. It may work. You know, his expertise, my talking to the neighbors. I mean, I went up and down the street on Sunday. I talked to the neighbors about this. I was very candid about the situation. So I'm bringing that information back to this meeting, having talked to people up and down Ware Street about this topic. So I'm the district counselor. I feel comfortable giving this a shot. I think this is a worthwhile initiative. And I thank Councilor Gonzalez for making this a substitute amendment as part of his motion. I appreciate that. And I don't have all the answers to every question, but I think this is worthy of passage this evening. And then we can certainly reevaluate, as I mentioned to some of the neighbors. I looked them in the eye and I said, let's give this, if we're going to go with this, we're going to take a look at it and we're going to reevaluate this in a year. And we're going to see if this works. If it doesn't work, we're going to change something. We're going to see what works. We're going to give this a shot. They're happy with that.
Point of information. I mean, is the motion to change it to one way or to keep it as is and prohibit the parking? Because I'm confused.
Yeah, keep it like that.
Keep it as two ways and then prohibit one side parking.
Okay. Yes, sir.
That's the motion.
Folks, not a conversation. Madam Clerk, if you would you please, for the edification of all in this meeting, would you please read back the motion as amended?
What it was suggested was of making Ware Street into a one-way from Corbett Road to Stevens Street.
I'm saying.
And then it was amended. There was an amendment offered. It was on the screen. And it was accepted by.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Bear with me, Mr. Rodriguez. There was a motion made. It was accepted by Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. LaPlante, can you please provide the amendment that Mr. Gonzalez accepted?
Sure. The amendment is very simple. The street remains two-way street. There is going to be, there's going to be no parking on the south side of Ware Street and allow for parking on the north side of Ware Street from South Broadway to Corbett. Very simple.
Okay.
Two ways. That's
I still hold the floor, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Payano, sir.
Thank you, Chair Abdul. So just real quickly, thank you, Councilor LaPlante, President LaPlante, for answering that. I think, in particular, since from what you're telling us, it's patchwork, then I don't think that parking will be too much of a concern in that area. So I think that makes the most sense to me to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Payano. Are there further comments or questions?
Yeah, just
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're clear because I mean, it was a confusion with the motion. So it's like Mr. President just mentioned, two-way traffic, both directions,
Correct.
and parking on only one side. I just want to make sure that, you know, when the district councilor talked to the resident up there, and I mentioned that, you know, if the street is affected by the winter parking ban, that this have nothing to do with that. I don't know if that's the case, but in case people get confused once they get a new ordinance in place, once winter comes, they probably get confused in some cases. I don't know if this is the case because I don't know how this street is affected or by the winter parking ban.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone who hasn't spoken, has any further comments or questions on this motion?
Mr. Abdu, I have a question for Mr. LaPlante.
Councilor De La Cruz, floor is yours.
Thank you. Mr. LaPlante, is there a lot of apartments around there?
No, there's single family, there's some duplexes along the street, and there's maybe a couple of complexes where there's multi-units, but there's not many of those.
And they don't park outside that much?
Almost, I can't speak with 100% certainty. Almost every house has a driveway, almost every house. So there's parking there. They do have some relief parking on the street because there is parking on the street and residents take advantage of that parking.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you, Councilor De La Cruz.
Council Vice Chair, if you allow me to share my screen, I can show how they look. Can you guys see?
Yes.
So that's basically how we look. It's not everybody using the street as parking, as off-street parking.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. All right, at this time, seeing no further comments or questions, I will call the vote. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor,
I stand corrected. Madam Clerk, was there a second? Was there a second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you to my colleagues. The motion as amended, Madam Clerk, if you would take the roll. Thank you.
who seconded Pagano?
I did. I think both De La Cruz and
Yeah.
myself did. So, Councilor Abdul, you get to pick which one you like, who you like the most.
Ladies before gentlemen, Councilor De La
Okay. I sang you happy birthday. That's okay. That's okay.
That sounded good.
She's thinking in Spanish, so she was.
That is true. That is true.
Okay, so Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Pagano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes.
Motion passes. With that, I would pass the gavel back to Mr. LaPlante.
Thank you, Mr. Abdu, and thank you to my colleagues for your support on that, on the last item. The next item is a document number 1121. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
No notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations and effects. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the City of Lawrence revised ordinances are hereby further amended by adding the following new paragraph to section 10.36.330C of the municipal code. Bus stops, taxi cab stands, ambulance stands, and service zones to be inserted in the proper alphabetical order. Hampshire Street, west side from point 44 feet southerly of the intersection of Common Street to a point 84 feet southerly of the intersection of Common Street. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard on this matter shall be afforded the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. The public hearing is now open. Is there any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter?
Good morning, President LaPlante. This is Derek Mitchell from the Lawrence Partnership, here to speak on behalf of this.
An address, please, sir.
I live at 104 Bachelor Street in West Newbury, and I work at 420 Common Street in Lawrence.
You have the floor, sir.
Thanks. This was a request that I made in conjunction with the city's health department. We are expanding the revolving test kitchen, which is located at 420 Common Street. This is a project we're doing with the City of Lawrence, Northern Essex Community College, E for All, A Para Todos, Lupoli Companies, a number of other partners to support small food-based businesses. The idea is this becomes a shared commercial kitchen. Many businesses, whether they're food trucks, whether they're businesses that are working out of their own family kitchen, would have access to a commercial kitchen, which both increases the sanitation as well as the economic development opportunities for those businesses. We're requesting a loading zone so that those businesses could more effectively load and unload their food products without having to go to other means. My primary concern is if we do not do this, they will pull into the alley immediately behind the building, which would be a public safety concern because that is a emergency vehicle easement. And just knowing the businesses, food trucks, they start at 4 a.m. And if we don't give them somewhere else to pull, they're probably going to pull into that alleyway. And so creating this loading and unloading zone, I think, is both supportive of those businesses, but also it's better for public safety in the community.
Thank you. Are there any of the members of the public who wish to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilor Dela Cruz. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded.
Question.
Seconded by Councilor Levy, I believe. Discussion?
Yes.
Councilor Levy.
So where are you asking to have the loading zone?
It's on Hampshire Street between Essex and Common. It's a one-way street. Currently, there are functionally 3 lanes of traffic already, and it's just the area between the alleyway and Common Street, which represents between 2 or 3 parking spots, which currently are not allocated for, I think, any purpose. I think it is, I'll be totally honest, I don't exactly know what the space is allocated for. You cannot turn left off of that street because Common is a one-way. There are 2 lanes in the middle for through traffic, and then there is an additional right lane for parking and turning. So the area that we're requesting for a loading zone, I don't know what its current use is. Otherwise, it's not metered parking as it stands.
So, but no using the alleyway, because this is what they are using right now.
Exactly. Well, they're not using.
And sometimes we have emergency, or the police wants to come, or somebody want to leave, or somebody coming in. Just the company also to pick up the trash is having a lot of problems sometimes picking the trashes in the back of the building, because there is a truck that is parked right in there. Principal, during the winter time, it's very hard for those people, coming in and out, because there is something blocking all the times right in there.
That's what we're trying to prevent. The revolving test kitchen is not currently open. It hasn't been opened for over a year, and so any trucks that are in the alleyway currently would not be connected to that space. The facility is scheduled to reopen next month. And we wanted to have this loading zone in place before it reopens as a preventative measure. Because I agree with you, Councilor Levy. Small businesses probably will, or delivery trucks will probably use that alleyway if we don't have a designated space elsewhere for them to be.
Also in the back, it's a lot of trouble that you are having right in the back right now.
There are a lot of people that are dumping trash in the trash bins. That is an issue. Again, it's a shared facility. It's a community college building. And many people drop mattresses back there. We are adding another dumpster. And we're going to try to put some more gates around those dumpsters, but that is an ongoing issue in that alleyway. Yes.
Yes. So people, the homeless sleeping in there, building houses, trashing a lot of things in the backs. It's a lot of trouble. It's a lot of problems, right in the little bags, where you have the trash chute.
I've not seen any evidence of homeless encampments in that direct area. We are adding additional lighting back there. And like I said, we're going to gate off the dumpsters. But you might know better than I have.
I see because I have to call the police all the time.
Okay, yeah. So
people are sleeping in there, taking bath right in there without no clothing in front of a lot of children. Yes, a lot of problem.
Yeah.
So, if I may.
But also, it is good to know that that we we need to have more lighting over there. I see so that most of the lighting is right in that alleyway are off right now, and the trash is another problem. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a question, Councilor Rodriguez?
I do.
Thank you very much, Councilor Levy. Was that a question to Mr. Mitchell? Or are you all set?
I had my hands raised too.
No, I see it. Mr. Piano's next, as long as Councilor Levy's all set. Are you all set, Councilor Levy?
No, I'm not. So I would like to, yes, I would like to be very clear where is where are you looking for the loading zone on that special particular area? Yes.
You can check my screen, and I wanted to know exactly what it is as well.
Exactly, yeah. Do you want to pull it up, Councilor Rodriguez?
I have it in front of me, but I don't have the floor yet.
Oh.
Yes, you can do it.
Go ahead, Councilor Rodriguez.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President.
All right, this is the current location of what we're talking about. The revolving kitchen is right here on this spot.
Exactly.
And this is a 3-lane traffic flow approach here. So I don't know where exactly we can feed the loading zone, because if we feed a loading zone anywhere in this area, we literally taking one approach of traffic going on that direction. So is that the intent?
Right where your cursor was just a second ago, Councilor, right there. If you scroll forward a little bit,
More?
exactly when there's a ramp right exactly right there. There's a ramp that goes to the back door of the facility. That's where we're not in there. No, right there exactly right where your cursor is, a little bit further behind. Right about there is where we're proposing.
Here?
No, keep going forward. Right where your cursor was. If you can see that,
okay.
A little further back, you've got that side entrance there, and you see there's a utility box before right there. There's a ramp that goes to the back door right before.
So you mean going through the alleyway?
No, not through the alleyway. Yes, right between that utility box and the building. There's a ramp that goes to the back door. That's going to be exactly right there is where we're proposing the loading zone. The back door to that facility is up that ramp.
But Derek, you see that if we have truck parking there, you literally blocking this traffic lane. And that's absolutely wrong. I mean, we shouldn't be thinking that way.
Councilor Rodriguez, Mr. Piano actually had the floor second, and we were just going to use this diagram to help Councilor Levy ask the question. And Councilor Piano's been very patient. Council Levy, what questions did you want based on these pictures, or had that questions already been answered?
Okay, so, okay, that is the alleyway right in here. So you can see like it's the little, well, you can see the trash right in there. And all that space right in here is being used by the homeless, sleeping, taking shower and doing a lot of things. A lot of trash is over there. People, I don't know from where they are coming, you know, and so that's, and it's very, very bad sometimes, that little space right in there. So,
We think additional
we
activity.
cannot block anything. You see the red columns, we cannot block anything, you know, before that place.
Right.
Get into the alleyway.
So you're talking about that location over there on the alleyway, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that is the alleyway, and they use it. You can go practically, you know, and they use it, all of this area for sleeping. But there are most of the time a lot of trucks there. I don't know if that belongs to you guys, you know, because they are taking things in and out. And sometimes the police want to come, they can do it because there is a truck parked right there, or any car that nobody know from where it's come. And I have to keep calling the police all the time just to come and help, you know, with the cleaning and taking out homeless and doing a lot of things over there.
Councilor Lever, I
It's
can't.
very dark. That is another thing, that
Right.
area is very dark right there.
I can't account for the activity there over the last 14 or 15 months as this facility has been closed. It's been under construction. There is a substance abuse facility that also has a back door in that alleyway. If you go halfway down that alleyway to the left, there is.
I know that there is a facility for that.
Yeah.
But when the police come, they take a lot of temps from there. And like I said, they used to shower there.
Okay.
That
Well,
people
that's
who
not
live
their
on the
fault.
building can see those people new without no clothing, taking shower and using everything that they want to use it. So just on the little thing behind the trash container that is there.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Councilor Levy. I think Mr. Payano, do you want this visual up, Mr. Payano, or not?
Sure, we can leave the visual. Thank you, Councilor Rodriguez, for putting the visual up. I think we were thinking around the same wavelength. Initially I kind of wanted to know which side, whether it was going to be on the Revolving Kitchen or on the other sort of Northern Essex building. Because regardless of whether side, even if it was on the other side, that space that's there is not, there isn't space enough on the other side for a full parking lot. And then on the left, I think the issue that we'd be running with is just what Councilor Rodriguez mentioned, that essentially would block any cars that are going through those using the furthest to the left lane. I guess I'd like to hear from Mr. Mitchell why the alleyway can't be used. And I'm interested in kind of if there was, so that's one question I have for Mr. Mitchell. And just in general, I'm interested in sort of, when the city, when we were reviewing this, what the thought frame was, because essentially we would be, I think the traffic pattern would change, because we wouldn't want to have like the furthest left lane, we would then have to convert into a parking lane, because if a truck were to be pulled over there, it would just cause a lot of headaches and a lot of potentially could be an issue. So I think if we're going to put something, do a loading zone there, then we would have to, at least I think, I'm interested in sort of hearing what city engineer, when they reviewed this, what their thought frame was. We would have to convert that furthest left lane into a parking area. And even if you go further back, I think that whole area at the moment, that entire section of the street is no parking. So my initial question, Mr. Mitchell, you mentioned the alleyway, that the alleyway can't be used. If you can just talk us through that a little bit more, so we can fully understand what the need is.
We'd love to use the alleyway if that's the recommendation of the city. We're trying to proactively figure out what is going to work for the city and for the entrepreneurs. And in our conversations, we thought that the loading zone on the street, again, we didn't do a formal traffic study, but I work in the building. We spent a fair amount of time on that specific corner looking at traffic patterns. There's 3 lanes of traffic. Very rarely is there more than a second car queued up. And so I think the assessment was, even if you lost part of that 3rd lane of traffic, having 2 throughways was adequate. We'd be more than happy to allocate space in the alleyway if the city preferred it, if there are other creative options. The one thing we didn't want to do is not provide space specifically for food trucks, knowing that they're going to create space. And we didn't want them to go somewhere that the city did not want them to be. So we wanted to proactively find space for them, and then delivery trucks as well. So we're open to whatever solutions the council or the city engineer might recommend in this instance.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. So, I mean, I don't know enough about that alleyway. I don't know if the city council can recommend something, but I definitely think if the city engineer hasn't looked at this, that they probably should. So I think at the moment with COVID, I think traffic is pretty down. But I would say that lane does get used, especially during high traffic moments, like past 4:30 or past 4 o'clock. There is use of this particular side. And the other thing to think about is just when this was created, like we're talking about that entire, there's a street plan for that entire zone. So if I'm not saying that we shouldn't change this, but I think that if we do, it should be sort of well thought out, and it should be connected to the other sort of plans that we have in that downtown area. So I think that if we don't have anything from the city engineer, I myself wouldn't be ready to sort of vote in favor, just because I feel like I just need to kind of hear and understand more the city's perspective as to how we would be able to address any sort of unintended consequences that might come with that. I will, and I will say that just looking at that alleyway, it seems like it's wide enough for a car to go through. I just don't know exactly where that ends. But I will give back the rest of my time, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pano. We appreciate that.
Mr. President.
Is this a point of order? Because other councilors who haven't spoken yet, Councilor Levy, is this a point of personal privilege or a point of order? Okay, so we're going to continue on. Mr. Rodriguez, did you conclude your thoughts? You were next in line.
I haven't started yet. I haven't started.
So here's the order.
I'm not going to conclude until I express my points. I've been waiting very patiently.
Yeah, and you've been very good, Mr. Rodriguez. You are next, followed by Mr. Abdu, followed by Councilor Dela Cruz, and then to Ms. Levy. So, Mr. Rodriguez, you have the floor.
Thank you. So, as you guys can see on the visual here, we have a one-way, 3 lanes approach for traffic for a reason, and this intersection was designed based on this pattern. So before we think about doing anything as a councilor, we should have a traffic study done on this area before we take any traffic lane, because that's going to create a lot more issues in the future. That's one thing as of why I'm not seeing these as a yes right now. If you think ahead, and if you think, if you think this through, we have this lane right here, which is not being used, is no parking anytime, which basically, if we want to do this right, probably we can use that space, do the striping again on the entire intersection, and transfer that space to here and continue the other 3-lane traffic, converting this into one, into a transferring this travel lane to this location, which also going to bring other consequences. Basically, we're probably going to lose those parking spaces going farther up. That's one thing. That's another thing that we might face. The reason why they cannot use the alleyway is because, as you guys can see, this is a family truck that is blocking the entire alleyway. Basically, if we happen to be loading zone on this area, loading zone means unlimited amount of time they can load, and they don't have a specific amount of time as of when they're going to finish. It's not a 15-minute parking. Loading zone meaning, in the city of Lawrence at least, that the owner of that loading zone is going to stay there forever. That's what it means, at least in Lawrence. But thinking this through, I think that the solution will become here. That's your solution right there. Why not thinking this as taking this one parking from here, even though it's under a contract, or it probably want to be under a contract because we have meter here, but having as loading zone, and basically having those entrepreneurs coming from here, walking to the kitchen, which is basically here. Probably a little bit of walk, but well, listen, when you decide to be an entrepreneur, it's because you prefer to work 80 hours instead of working 40 for someone else. So that's part of the struggle. That's part of what they like to do, and why not? But that's a solution for you guys, for you councilors, transferring that loading zone to be on this side of the building, on Common Street.
I think that's a creative solution, Councilor Rodriguez. I think that also could work, especially if it prevents change of traffic patterns and restriping. I think putting it on the front of the building, that's also a viable solution. You may lose 1 or 2 metered parking spots, but I think you'd gain a lot by way of public safety along the way. And just to clarify, it's not just for the entrepreneurs. It would also be delivery vehicles, a Cisco truck, for instance.
Yeah.
But to your point, we would not expect people to stay there indefinitely. We would anticipate enforcing that it is a loading and unloading zone. If we found that one of our entrepreneurs was staying there, we would have some enforcement mechanisms to apply there.
So that could be a solution, definitely. And furthermore, if we lose one space here, this is your solution. This is a city parking lot here.
Yeah.
It's right behind it, the building.
Yep.
So just thinking outside of the box about this possible solution, that could be definitely a something that we should think about. It's going back to what it was before, the vision that we have. And without further ado, Mr. President, I yield the floor. I think that we should think this through more.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. The next person who has their hand up is Mr. Abdu, followed by Councilor Dela Cruz, followed by Councilor Levy. Councilor Abdu.
Thank you, Mr. President. In light of Mr. Rodriguez's comments and a couple other colleagues, my opinions are similar and same, and in the interest of time, I'll yield the floor.
Thank you. The next councilor is Councilor Dela Cruz. Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. And thank you, Councilor Rodriguez, for bringing the picture so alive. I like the way that you presented that. My question will be,
Councilor, do you want these pictures up or do you want, or not?
leave it on. Mr. Mitchell, is there a possibility to put the loading zone on inside the city parking? Can we do that?
Yes, we would love to coordinate whatever works for the city inside of the city parking lot. The challenge of the parking lot is there's a kiosk at the front, and once an entrepreneur gets in, then it is tricky to make sure that they leave. And so that was the one concern about putting the loading zone inside of the parking lot. But if that's the recommendation from the city, we certainly would work to enforce it for sure. But our conversations previously with the city had recommended it be where we requested it. But we're open to whatever creative solutions the city might recommend that would work for you, and make sure that the alleyway can stay clear and traffic patterns can be maintained. Yeah, whatever solutions you guys might recommend. I think there's multiple ways to skin this cat.
Mr. Mitchell, at the same time, I found that in front of the alley, in front of the door of the restaurant, when people are driving around there, if you're gonna go to the left side, yes, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. If people are driving around there, there is never, you cannot turn to the left in front of the post office. You can't.
Right, it's a one-way.
Then it is very easy to avoid the loading zone and then just moving to the front if you're going to make a left on Lowell Street. Then I don't think that will affect the traffic that much, because most people, stay on the middle of the lane, or if they're going to make a left on Common Street, they stay on the right side. Then is there a possibility to do a little piece in front of the right there in front of the restaurant?
Councilor De La Cruz, that was the assessment coming into this meeting, and I've actually never driven on the left side of that. I can't remember, because I either go straight or go right, and so I'm to your point, I'm always in the center or the right lane. And so I think that's why the recommendation was made to carve out one or two of these spots. Given that you can't take a left turn, that left-hand lane is not as well utilized as certainly the furthest right lane is always the highest traffic, because it captures anybody going right or straight, followed by the one in the middle. But I do understand the assessment of having a truck there. I do see how that complicates it. But also in previous conversations with the city that brought us to this recommendation, it felt like a reasonable compromise to afford one or two loading zone spots there, given that there's a lot of lanes of traffic in that specific area, and we thought that the loading zone could adequately support it with the traffic pattern. But I also understand the points that are being made, and if the council wants to make other recommendations or the city engineer has other solutions, we're open to whatever recommendations you might offer.
My recommendation would be how long it takes for the truck to load unload. They don't spend the whole day in there.
No, we
leave
would probably, I would recommend that it be called 15-minute loading. And again, a delivery vehicle is in and out very quickly. They do not want to stay. The entrepreneurs, I think, is a little bit different. Entrepreneurs, to Councilor Rodriguez's point, given the opportunity, they may stay longer. I think it would be incumbent upon us to ensure that's not the case. And we've contracted with professional managers of shared commercial kitchens that will be overseeing the day-to-day operations. They run these facilities in Boston and in Somerville with much higher levels of density. And they are confident in their ability to help enforce some of this. Whatever the solution is, we would work to enforce it alongside of the city. But we also believe having a dedicated space for it is better than not, because I think we all recognize if we don't create a dedicated space, then we're inviting either delivery trucks or entrepreneurs to use their own discretion as to where to park. And who knows where that would be. They could park in even less opportune spaces if we don't designate something for them.
Mr. Mitchell, can the entrepreneur go to the city parking and parking there?
They can, but they can't get into the city parking lot without paying. And so even if they only want to unload or load food out of the back of their food truck, the kiosk at the front of the city parking lot will not let them into the lot without paying. If there was a mechanism to allow them to go in for 15 minutes and leave, I think that would be a great solution. We just have to coordinate that with the parking department, how that would be administered.
Okay.
Yeah, and there are some dedicated spots already in the parking lot for Northern Essex that we could adequately use. But again, it's the issue of how do we make sure that we can enforce that once they get into the kiosk, they can park wherever they want.
Mr. Rodriguez, can you go back to the picture to the main entrance of, yeah, exactly. I think that's the best spot for the loading zone. Right there in front of the building, because that will allow people not to stay that long because they don't have to walk that far. Right, Mr. Mitchell?
That was from our conversations with the city. That was what was recommended to us. And again, the back door, which you can't exactly see from this rendering, the entrepreneurs are going to access this facility from the back door. People familiar with this project know that the first floor is a cafe, but what we've been doing, we've invested about $350,000 to renovate the basement. And that basement is a commercial kitchen that's accessible from the back door. Most of the entrepreneurs are going to end up using that kitchen space. So they will not access it through the front door of the facility. They'll access it through the back door, and there's ramp to access from right next to the alleyway. And again, knowing entrepreneurs, the easiest place for them to park is in the alleyway. And our concern is and delivery trucks too, if we don't designate somewhere else, I would be concerned that entrepreneurs would start using that alleyway, which may present a public safety issue if an emergency vehicle. And Councilor Rodriguez, he pointed that camera to the other side. I've seen a car parked in that alleyway. 90% of all of the time I'm in my office, I can see that other alley. If you turn around, there is constantly a car in this alleyway on the other side, which doesn't present an issue until there's a fire back there, and then a fire truck cannot get back. And so that's what we're trying to avoid in our alleyway. But I've seen that vehicle and others in that alleyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can that be like a 20 minutes load and unload? Not more than that, because or the traffic around there.
That was the proposal. A short-term load and unload.
Exactly. Okay, thank you very much for the answers.
Thank you very much, Councilor. Are there any other councilors? I'm going to get to Councilor Levy here in a second, who have not had a chance to speak yet, who wish to. If not, Councilor Levy, you have the floor.
I think Councilor Gonzalez has his hand raised as well.
I can't see. Mr. Rodriguez, he unsure.
Yeah, Councilor Gonzalez have his hand raised.
Gonzalez, you wish to speak at this time?
Yes, sir.
Do you want this photo on there?
No, sir. I just want to ask a question.
Okay.
They had to be the delivery time. They had to be in the daytime. They cannot be in the nighttime.
I don't know when the deliveries would happen. I do know that entrepreneurs would use the space at various hours. Bakers, for instance, will be there in the nighttime, food trucks very early in the morning. The facility will be open 20 hours a day to entrepreneurs. I don't know when delivery vehicles would come though.
Thank you.
If there's no other counselors, I'm going to go to Counselor Levy. Counselor Levy, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. No, my suggestion, that was the same that Councilor De La Cruz was doing regarding using the parking lot, but I just hear what they say regarding paying, for the park. And what I would like is maybe to make a motion to call the city engineer and just look at the proposal that Councilor Rodriguez was making. I think so it is the best one because it will not interfere with the traffic, passing by and getting some space or some line during the time that they loading or unloading any food or whatever that they're doing over there. But I do not recommend to use as a loading part the alleyway. The alleyway is very narrow. I'm sorry, but it's very narrow. A small car can stop any traffic and any emergency that we could have it right in there. And like I said, it's very hard also when they come in just to pick the trash to the building in the back, so to the other building, because it's just only one way, that piece of alleyway, and it's very, very narrow. Before the construction of the park, I spoke with the city engineer, I spoke with so many people, and they mentioned that they're gonna do something different, to what they really did it at the end. So that's my recommendation.
So right now we have a motion on the floor and the motion has been properly second. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, essentially what I would like to say is the following. Before we take any determination in terms of traffic, especially on Hampshire Street, Common Street, Exit Street, around that area, Lawrence Street, Haver Street, we need to know one particular thing, and that's the average daily traffic, the ADT. Anytime that we actually talk about that without that specific data, we're talking nonsense. And on these intersections, we don't know the average daily traffic. We don't know how many cars, how many vehicles, how many trucks pass by that intersection. We don't know how many of them turn to the left, turn to the right, sorry. We don't know how many of those go straight up to do deliveries to the post office or pick up something from there. We don't know that yet. So having traffic or having a loading zone on Hampshire Street in front of the building, that is very, very, very difficult to even think about. Knowing the fact that we have, every time that we have an intersection that is receiving traffic with a three-lane approach, we have to have that receiving and coming from the intersection. So doing a traffic study without having or just recommending something regarding to traffic, without having an average daily traffic going through that area, it is very difficult. To get the average daily traffic, we have to have a company that come over or somebody that stand there and count the car, and literally count the car literally between Tuesday to Thursday for 8 hours and have a significant measure, not just, saying, no, I don't see anything. I don't, you know what I mean? That's very irresponsible. So we have to have that information before we make that determination. Going to the city engineer, I think that's the best approach, as Councilor Levy proposed. And on my end, having that loading zone on Common Street in front of the building that is not interfering with traffic will be the best solution. That's on my opinion. I don't have that I don't have any information, but at least what I'm saying is, let's take one of those parking spots that we have in front of the building that it's already been designed and designated to be a parking, to use it as loading zone. Hanshaw Street is not been designed to have people not even standing there. Nevertheless, having 15 minutes loading zone or anything like that. So I think that we should study this furthermore, or we should go to what is already been designated and designed as a parking zone, which is on the area of Common Street.
Thank you very much, Councilor Gonzalez. Are there any other councilors who wish to speak on this matter? There is a motion on the floor to approve at this point. Is there any other?
It's motion to send it to the city engineer.
So right now there's a motion on the floor to approve. That was after the public hearing. Did somebody wish to, I mean, you could certainly vote against it. You can certainly amend it. If members of the council can do that.
No, I mean, through point of parliamentary procedures, I mean, Councilor Levy just put another motion on top of that. And I second that to send it to the city engineer.
So we have a motion right now to adopt. There's also a motion to send this to the engineer. So I think the proper order would be to table this item here and then to send it to the city engineer if that's the direction that this council wants to go in.
Council, Mr. LaPlante, Council President.
Councilor Dela Cruz.
Yes, I think I will agree to do the study of the area. I will agree with Council Levy that we should send this to be studied by the traffic department and by the city engineer, that we can make sure that we are doing the right things. Mr. Mitchell, we wanted to do the best for the area. And then at this point, it will be good to send correspondent to the traffic department and to the city engineer, that they can help us to get into a final decision. That is my motion to.
What would be in order? It would be to table this item, and also if you wish to send something to the city engineer, make that part of the motion. That would be in order. Is that the motion?
Motion to table and send this over to the city engineer.
To the city engineer, yep.
And to the traffic department.
So I believe it was made by Councilor De La Cruz. I also understand that Councilor Levy also had a big part to play in this motion as well. So there is no discussion on a motion to table, and we understand the instruction to go to the city engineer for further study. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
The chair, the president votes yes. The motion to table carries. And I want to thank Mr. Mitchell. Apparently, Mr. Mitchell, you are leaving the Lawrence Partnership, and thank you so much for your work there. You've been a tremendous asset to the city. I just want to make an acknowledgement and thanks to you. Thank you.
Thank you for all your work, and let me know how I can be supportive of any follow-up here. I will still be involved in this project for the foreseeable future, and all the other good work happening in Lawrence. Thank you guys for your time tonight. Have a great night, and thanks for your dedicated commitment to figuring this one out with us.
Thank you, sir.
Very good. Thank you. The next item on the agenda this evening is document 16B21. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the City of Lawrence revised ordinances are hereby further amended by adding the following new paragraphs to section 2.72.060 Code Enforcement Officer, Health, Safety, and Equity. Code Enforcement Officer, Health, Safety, and Equity. A, position established, appointment, duties. There is established in the Department of the Inspectional Services the position of Code Enforcement Officer, Health, Safety, and Equity to be appointed by the mayor. Upon passage of this ordinance, all inspector positions in the Department of Inspectional Services shall be forthwith reclassified as Code Enforcement Officer, Health, Safety, Equity, under the general supervision of the Commissioner of Inspectional Services, acting either in their official capacity or in their capacity as the Director of the Board of Health appointed under Mass General Law, Chapter 111, Section 30. The Code Enforcement Officer shall be responsible for the permitting, licensing, registration, plan review, emergency response, public education, investigation, enforcement, and prosecution of complaints of federal law, including the interpretation, implementation, and enforcement of the Board of Health regulations, licensing board regulations, Lawrence Revised Zoning Ordinance, Lawrence Municipal Code, environmental regulations, Massachusetts general laws, and the Code of Massachusetts.
All right. Are you still with us, Clerk Bradshaw? I think you're probably near the end there.
We lose it.
Clerk Ruiz, are you still with us? Can you just finish that last part up?
Yes.
I think you're right near
I
the
think,
end.
yes.
Read the last two paragraphs, and I think that will probably cover it.
So the salary and benefits of the code enforcement shall be provided for the National Conference of Firemen and Oilers, SEIU, Local 3 Inspectors Union, Health, Safety, Equity 1, Job Group 11, Health, Safety, Equity 2, Job 13. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak on this item? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what is your pleasure?
Discussion.
I need a motion to start off with. Is there a motion? Is there a motion to table? Is there a motion? Is there any?
Motion
To approve.
Council, I hear a motion by Councilor Dela Cruz to approve. I heard that. Is there a motion? Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes. Discussion.
Thank you, Council President. So now I'm interested in knowing if the Director Bonet had an opportunity to look at this ordinance change, because one of the things that we look at with this ordinance talks about, it's essentially sets the setting the salary. Yeah, so is that something you can answer, Council President, or someone who's on the call can answer?
I believe Mr. Romano is with us. He might be the person to lead on this. Mr. Romano, are you with us, sir?
Yes, sir. Council President, I'm here. Council Payano, this was an effort by several of our city departments, Mr. Bonet, Mr. Ianello, City Attorney Raquel Ruano, all reviewed this particular language, and everyone was satisfied with it.
All right, great.
And if I could just add, this was collectively bargained as well. That's why it was collectively bargained at the bargaining table. We agreed on these on this collective bargaining agreement, which eliminated the current positions and brought them into the health, safety, and equity labels.
Mr. Payano has the floor. Mr. Payano, you still have the floor, sir.
It's okay. Yeah. Follow-up question. Director Romano, can you just briefly kind of let us know why we're moving forward with, why are we doing this ordinance change?
Sure. Council Payano, this is a change that I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of the inspectors at ISD. They have a long history of working together and collaborating with other departments, as well as working together within their department. And ISD is very diverse. We have building inspectors and plumbing inspectors and housing and food and weights and measures. And this is a show of collaboration that all of these inspectors recognize how important their role is, how critical their role is in the city, specifically for fighting for health, safety, and equity for all the residents. So they've come together in the spirit of defending the health, safety, and equity of all the residents. They've committed to working together. Sometimes we see, different positions in the city where, someone may say that's not my job. And this is the polar opposite of what this bargaining unit has done. They've come together and said, this is our job as a team and we're in it together. So when a plumbing inspector does an inspection, goes into a house, if they see that there's something wrong with the plumbing, they can recognize that as a housing issue, as a sanitary issue that affects, again, not just the pipes, but somebody's livelihood and quality of life and conditions of living. So for that reason, they came together in the spirit of everything that they've done during COVID-19. This group has stepped up tremendously. They've become case tracers. They've become advocates for vaccine. They've done so much for health, safety, and equity. And they didn't have to do that, but they did. So I think the city would be proud of everything that the inspectors have done. And that's sort of the purpose and the direction that where they want to go as a group.
So, so Director Romano, is this essentially would this change the, how currently the inspectors, the title of the inspectors and the qualifications of the inspectors to this, or is this creating a new position that runs in tangent with the other positions that are on the current code?
The best way I can describe it is it acts as an umbrella over all the current divisions that we have. So there's certain people who are qualified to do certain things within inspectional services. They'd still retain those qualifications. They'd still have to have some, but this just, again, acts an umbrella in the sense that they're in it together. And when they go into a house, it's not just about plumbing or building or housing or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I think I might be still a little bit lost. So if I'm a food inspector, right, let's say that's my title. There's probably there's probably a correct title to it, and I'm killing it right now. But if I'm a food inspector, this passes. Am I still called a food inspector, or am I now a code enforcement officer?
You're a code enforcement officer, but again, you may go do a food inspection. But if you're, and you also may go do a housing inspection. So if you can imagine, if you're walking into an establishment, a restaurant, to do a food inspection, you're an inspector, a code enforcement official doing a food inspection.
Yeah, I think I understand now. So I just wanted to make sure that essentially what we're doing is, currently we have workers that have certain titles. We would be changing those titles to code enforcement officer, and that would allow them the freedom that if a building inspector, if they have the qualifications, can do food inspections and vice versa.
You got it.
Okay. My next question is, do you know, as far as the salary, what that range is?
I don't have it in front of me. I don't know if Mr. Iannello has it.
I don't have the salary off the top of my head, but basically the salaries in the agreement, we agreed to move the inspectors who are at the lowest range to the next available range. All the rest of the inspectors remained at their current levels.
Okay. But that's not here. So you're saying that there's a separate agreement outside of what's currently in the ordinances. Does the salary range, has that changed from what's currently in the ordinances, or is it just a restatement?
Well, if I could just refresh council's memory, it was a couple of months ago we went and the council approved the collective bargaining agreement with this group, with the inspectors unit, and they approved that a couple of months ago. And in that, on the agenda was we attached a copy of the collective bargaining agreement. And that agreement was the provision that inspectors that were on the, I can't remember if it was grade 8 or grade 9, they would move to grade 10. And it was all provided for in the collective bargaining agreement as in order to change their titles from whatever their existing titles were to the Health, Safety, and Equity 1 and Health, Safety, and Equity 2 positions. But there was an increase for the, I think there were 4 or 5 employees that were bumped up to the next available range, if you would, and then everybody else remained where they were. But now they have an opportunity. Also in that collective bargaining agreement was an opportunity for some of the inspectors to earn an additional stipend because of the on-call stipend was increased, and there's some other incentives for the employees to become Health, Safety, and Equity 2s.
No, I understand that the current employees, essentially they're in a different salary range than what they were, but before this agreement was signed. My question is as far as the current band that we have listed here, which is from group 11 through group 13, if that is similar to the range that was listed before. So if somebody was coming in new, right now that, maybe they'd be in group 11. Was that the same as before? Or is it what you're trying to say that it's not the same as before, that has changed?
That's correct. The entry level is now higher.
Okay. All right.
And and again, per the collective bargaining agreement, I think there were like 4 or 5 ranges. There's now just 3 ranges, if I recall correctly.
Okay, I understand. Thank you so much. I'll get back to the rest of my time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Panum. Councilor De La Cruz, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Council President. What I see is that we've been going through a lot with the COVID-19. The city is trying to do the best for the city and for all of us. Vaccine is being available in 3 different places, maybe 4 different places in the community. And I would like to say, Mr. Romano, we thank you a lot because you've been doing things without them being in place. You've just been working every day on things that we maybe need and we didn't have. And at this point, we need to have more inspection services people, not only for the safety and quality of life that we're going through, but also to guide us, because at one point when the pandemic came on, we were lost. And many things that the whole world were lost. But as much as needed, more people to be more qualified and to do more of the work that we need for the best health of the community, then I would say that we need to continue to work together on this, because otherwise, if we don't have those people in place, we have people overworking. And just because sometimes we complain that we don't have the money for the salary for those people, but this is a great opportunity. And I understand as youth department, we need maybe 10 more people to come in. Then this is going to be very beneficial for the community, especially during these moments of COVID-19. Then I hope that we can get the money to pay these people and to pay a salary that people deserve. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Is there any other members of the City Council wish to speak on this matter? Hearing none, there is a motion on the floor. It has been properly seconded. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez, Councilor Rodriguez. Noted. Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion passes. The next document is
Thank you,
document.
Council.
You're welcome. The next document is document 3421. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations and effects. Purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the City of Lawrence revised ordinances are hereby further amended by adding the following new paragraph to section 20.28.100A of the municipal code. Stop signs and flashing red signals, the following paragraphs in their appropriate alphabetical order. Stop signs Carlton Street, northbound and southbound drivers on Carlton Street at Dana Street. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard on this matter shall be afforded the opportunity.
Public hearing is now open. Is there any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Council, what is your pleasure?
Make a motion.
Second.
Yes.
Make a motion to, Mr. Abney makes a motion to approve, properly seconded by Councilor Selena Reyes. Discussion? Mr. Abney?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start by acknowledging the leadership of Councilor Reyes. Councilor Selena Reyes, she took the lead on this and addressed an intersection that has had its challenges over the past several years. And between Carlton and Everett and the various streets in that neighborhood, this was a welcome hand when she asked me to join her in this. And I just want to close my comments by thanking her again for her leadership. And I look forward to voting for this evening.
Thank you.
Are there any other councilors who wish to speak on this matter? I will also just take this moment to thank Councilor Selena Reyes. I was remiss earlier this evening when the council voted on the 4-way stops on Abbott and Bailey Street, that she in her capacity was very influential and helpful in making that. And thank you so much, Councilor, for your efforts in all our neighborhoods, and I appreciate those efforts. So, are there any other? If there's no other comments by members of the council, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Rodriguez. Noted. Councilor De La Cruz.
Yes.
Councilor Payano.
Yes.
Councilor Abdul.
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes.
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilor Levy.
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. The next document is document number 3721. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. Purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, public input concerning the proposed amendment to the City of Lawrence revised ordinances are hereby further amended by adding the following new paragraph to section 10.36.260 of the municipal code, 15-minute parking to be inserted in the proper alphabetic order. South Broadway, west side, from a point 58 feet northerly of the intersection of Durham Street to a point 78 feet northerly of the intersection of Durham Street. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilor Levy and the sponsor. Motion
Second.
approved and seconded by Councilor Gonzalez. Discussion. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Levy,
Yes.
Counselor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Counselor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Counselor Abdul,
Yes.
Counselor Payano,
Yes.
Counselor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez, Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. The next document, thank you. The next document is document number 3821. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the City of Lawrence revised ordinances are hereby further amended by adding the following new paragraph to section 10.36.250 of the municipal code, 20-minute parking to be inserted in the proper alphabetical order. West Street, west side from a point 40 feet southerly of the intersections of Hubbard Place to a point 206 feet southerly of the intersection of Hubbard Place. To the extent that there exists any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
The public hearing is now open. Is there any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter? The public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what is your pleasure? Councilor Gonzalez, this is your
Motion to approve.
motion made by Councilor Gonzalez. I don't know who seconded.
Second.
I think that was Councilor Selena Reyes. Discussion? Here, Councilor De La Cruz, you wish to speak on this matter?
No, I said second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. It already has been properly seconded. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Rodriguez. Noted. Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. The next document is document number 3921. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the City of Lawrence revised ordinances are hereby further amended by adding the following new paragraph to section 10.36.170 of the Lawrence Municipal Code, parking prohibited on certain streets between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. to be inserted in the proper alphabetical order. Hubbard Place, North Side, entire length. Further be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Lawrence that the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence are hereby further amended by adding a new paragraph to section 10.36.010 of the Lawrence Municipal Code, parking prohibited on certain streets at all times to be inserted in the proper alphabetical order. Hubbard Place, South Side, entire length. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone of the public who wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what is your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Councilor Gonzalez, motion to approve, seconded by, I think, Councilor Levy. Discussion?
Second by Maria de la Cruz.
Councilor Levy, did you make a second on that, or am I hearing things? Did you make a second?
No, I think
Yeah. I misunderstood. Councilor De La Cruz has the second on that. Thank
Using our voice.
you. Yeah, there's no further discussion. I will roll call by the clerk's office, please.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Payano, Councilor Payano,
My apologies. I was on mute. Yes.
thank you. Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez, noted. Council President LaPlante.
Yes, motion carries. The next item is document number 6021. Clerk, please read the public hearing notice.
Just a second.
President LaPlante,
Yes.
I
Councilor Reyes?
excuse myself from this item.
Very good. You noted Councilor Selena Reyes is recused from this item. Thank you, Councilor. Clerk, can you please read the public hearing notice?
Yes. Notice is hereby given that the Lawrence City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at a public hearing meeting conducted by electronic means with public viewing, listening, participation, and input provided remotely in compliance with public gathering limitations in effect. Purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed approval of the Community Development Block Grant and Home Annual Action Plan budget for fiscal year 2022 for the city of Lawrence as follows. Community Development Block Grant, Home and ESG Proposed Annual Action Plan budget for FY22. Community Development total $1,475,988. Public Facilities RFP total $14,416. Public Services RFP CDBG grant total $1,685,904. Home grant total $890,762. Emergency Solutions grant $146,568. Information regarding the post FY 2022 HUD Annual Action Plan and Budget may be examined, viewed, and copied at the Lawrence Community Development Department, 12 Methuen, Lawrence. Any business day between the hours of 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and the office of the City Clerk, 200 Common Street, Lawrence, Mass. On any business day between the hours of 8:30 and 4:30 p.m. A copy of the petition and proposed FY 2022 HUD Annual Action Plan and Budget may also be viewed at the public hearing section of the City Council website located at www.cityoflawrence.com/public-hearings-ASPX. Persons wishing to be heard on this matter shall be afforded the opportunity.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Members of the public are now invited to speak. I see Mr. Mali, your hand is up. You have the floor, sir.
Good evening, honorable members. Humayun Mali, 53 Chester Street. In this greatest pandemic of the century, our fellow citizens dying and sick, Lawrence, our beloved city, remain strong and unite to fight to overcome this global plague. While tonight, the discussion in order to expand grant to improve lives of our citizens, we respectfully demand of Honorable Council, when voting for grant such as this grant tonight, focus such a grant supposed to rebuild Lawrence and Laurentian life in a dark era of the pandemic. We must be absolutely sure in this important time for our mayoral election, this demand for grant from the Honorable Council is not motivated by any political campaign wishes and advancement for mayoral election. We respectfully asking honorable members conduct comprehensive investigation, the true reason and timing for such a strategic goal to build our city in the era after the pandemic. We cannot allow any political ambition for the mayor position in this important election year deny honorable council members to build a stronger Lawrence. While we must remember that our police department with a budget of only $14 million sacrificed their life, and there is a good reason. There is a safety officer such as Officer Mealy that need our help. So in building our community in the era of the pandemic, we ask of you as honorable members that we need to consider there is no be any reason behind such a ask for grant like a political campaign or advancement. Lawrence always is strong, Lawrence always unite. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Are there any members of the other members of the public who wish to speak on this matter this evening? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilor Payano. Is there a
Second.
second? It's properly seconded by Councilor Gonzalez. Discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Dela Cruz.
yes, I'm very happy that finally Beyond Soccer is gonna get some money. Because,
Agreed.
we have people making a difference in our community, and we have to start to work on that and to respect that. Then I'm very happy that some of the kids from Lawrence, they're gonna get the opportunity to play soccer. Then that's my comments.
Thank you. Are there any other councilors who wish to speak on this matter? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes. Noted. Councilor Abdul,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez. Noted. Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. Next item is communications from mayor, city officials, and city attorney. This is 8621, an update on the city council chambers. Councilors, as we, so tonight's a progress. I think now that we are expanding to cable on 21, excuse me, 22, and Verizon as well, we're making some progress. I just wanted to make sure everybody's up to speed on where we are. And I think we're at the point now where we can start to make some decisions and I want to get your feedback. First of all, if we're going to be doing anything inside the city council chambers, we're going to need to wear a mask. That's step one. Everybody needs to have a mask, unless of course they've got a physical ailment and there's doctors required that says they don't need to wear a mask. That's a different story. Number two, less than 100 people inside the gathering inside the city council chambers. That's another requirement. The requirement regarding the 6 feet rule, it is, I talked to Mr. Armano earlier today about that. It seems as though that because we are a public body doing the public business, that there's some leeway with respect to that. So it's a little, some give and take on that. We as a council may want to continue this until for the, at least for the foreseeable future. And the other, I think 2 other big notes that I want to make sure you are aware of is that August 1st seems to be a big date. That's a date that, you know, that we are hearing that things are going to be, and I want to use air quotes on this, back to normal. So the things that we are doing now, there's a very real chance that these things that we're reading in the beginning of the meetings, the emergency declarations that we read before every one of these meetings, that may not be in play as soon as potentially, again, I can't give you guarantees here, August 1st. And so also I wanted, you know, so the discussion about that also transitions a little bit to what are we going to do? I mean, we certainly, I had some conversations about getting equipment to make us hybrid, if you will. And so We can access, we can acquire. I am certain that if a decision was made by the council to get the equipment that is necessary for us to go hybrid, that we can do that. That is not a snap of the fingers. We say yes today, it's going to happen tomorrow. As we all know, there's at least a couple of weeks lag time, according to the IT people who I've been working with and talking to, both Luis Santiago and John Mejia, who have been fantastic on these behind the scenes. There is some cost, of course, associated with getting the equipment. I will tell you the cost right now for things such as TVs, TV stands, a desktop setups, a laptop, cables. We're looking between $2,000 and $2,500 as an estimate for what that would cost. And at least at this point, it seems as though we could probably get that funding, maybe through some of the COVID relief monies. Those might be eligible funds. That is good news. But the other point of the question as well, I'm just throwing this all out at you like a fire hose, right? Just a lot of information. The other part as well is, I mean, if we go ahead and we make that commitment here on May the 4th, and we decide that sometime down, this is going to take a couple of weeks before we go ahead and do it. August 1st could come around within a couple of months, really. It goes by fairly quickly. And all of a sudden, we can't potentially do the hybrid things. We will need to be in the council chambers back to where we once were. And that crystal ball is very foggy, and I don't have any more information on that. So having said all that to you, we could meet as early as maybe next week for for committee meetings, but those would have to be in the council. We could meet in the council chambers. We have the partitions up. We wear the masks. We could certainly self-regulate, and police making sure that we can set aside the benches inside the council chambers, hypothetically or theoretically, to allow for some distancing there. With only 4 members of the city council on each committee, we can certainly have the spacing, even though we don't necessarily need the spacing according to the exemptions by the law. We could technically really sit as close as we want, but I'm not sure we are at that point yet. In our city at this time, the ISD director has informed me that we still have very high numbers. Our testing rates are low, our vaccination rates are low, our numbers are still high. They're high in the Merrimack Valley, high for like-sized cities in the Commonwealth. So there's still a lot of that apprehension around. So these are not easy decisions to make, even though we can see communities around us also starting to open things up. So we're seeing that, we're observing that, we know that, and here we are today, right? So I'm kind of throwing that out to you. As I mentioned to you 3 weeks or 2 or 3 meetings ago now, when we first broached this, we need together, the 9 of us need to figure out how we're going to proceed on this. This is not one person making a decision for 9 of us. So your input is valuable. I can certainly make a recommendation and we can work off of that, but I really want to hear what you have to say and your thoughts. And if we can get to some sort of consensus, that's obviously where we want to go. So for discussion purposes only, and believe me when I tell you, I really want to hear from you. Maybe we could start with, if we feel comfortable enough, with meetings in the council chambers as early as next week. The only takeaway, the negative, if you will, on this is that won't be hybrid. We will not be set up as early as next week for that, but we can be in the chambers and we can hold the meetings. So that's an option, or we can continue doing this. Lots of options. I'm going to be quiet and I want to listen to what you have to say and your thoughts. I see Councilor De La Cruz with her hand up. Did you want to speak on this matter, Councilor De La Cruz?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. President, I think it's about time that we start asking for money to renew the chambers. Why? Number one, the equipment will solve a little bit of the problems, but at the chambers, we have other kind of problems. We have air quality problems, number one. When the heat is on, I cannot breathe in that place. And the distance, I went to visit the location yesterday, and the distance between my colleagues is still too close. It's not 6 feet distant, even with just the committees. Then I think we need to do major repair to that location, major repair. To whom do we have to write a letter to start getting the money to repair that location? Because it is not healthy. As it is now, as when the summer comes, that we have to turn on the fan, we have to turn on the air conditioner, and it's still not working. In the winter, we have to go through the same thing. Then it is about time that our community, that our city, that our mayor start thinking about renewing and making the place better for us, because it's not the best location. And I know what I'm saying, because when I'm sitting there, it's like the air quality is not the most favorable one. And I don't have asthma. It's not that I have asthma, because I don't have breathing problems so far, thanks God. But the location is not the best location that we deserve to have our meeting every week. Then please tell me who can give us money, where can we go, what are the changes that we need to make. We need to change everything in there. I understand it's a historical building, but it's not a where we're sitting. We don't deserve that. We deserve things better than that. And and that's my belief. I know that I can put my mother's dress 20 years ago, but now I cannot wear my mother's dress. The same thing I'm saying. We cannot be happy with that chambers that doesn't represent me as a city councilor. It does not. It is old fashioned. It's not up to 21st century equipment. And even the windows, we cannot open the windows if we have an emergency there. Then we have to start thinking about renovation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilor De La Cruz. I want to provide a little bit of a tease to you, but I don't want to go into too much detail quite yet, because it's still a work in progress. I have been in contact, and for the last couple of months, to be honest with you, toward trying to access some monies to be able to make some of the improvements, more so on the cable, sound system, those kinds of features of within the chambers, and some other items. And I'm working, it's really behind the scenes. Now I'm talking a little bit more about it, but I don't want to go into too much more detail about this, except to say, because it is a work in progress, right? So those discussions are ongoing, I'm telling you at this point. And I'm so happy that you said this, because now when I have conversations with these people, I'm going to point to this videotape and your comments that were essentially, we did not talk about this before, and you volunteer this information. So I appreciate that. Your other comments regarding the building itself, the room itself, that it's a bigger question that that's worthy of discussion, clearly. And I don't have an easy answer for that yet. But now that it's on the radar screen, that's something we can address with the DPW to see what we can do to make some improvements. But the question, and those are all legitimate, by the way, but the question before us right now, and I think maybe you're answering it, which is, do we go into the chambers? Do we continue this as we're doing this right now? Where do we go? How soon do we do it? Mr. Payano.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank Councilor De La Cruz for her comments, and in particular, she mentioned that she went into the council chambers and kind of measured things. I would say that for as long as we're asking others to be socially distanced, I would feel hypocritical if we're telling business owners and we're telling others to be 6 feet apart, and then we are not. I'm having issues myself with the school department's policy of instead of 6 feet, 3 feet, and no sort of real testing with the students, that for us to take something similar for not just ourselves, but for the other, the individuals that would come in to speak or, kind of witness the meeting, I do have a problem with. I would say that initially what I was going to suggest is that perhaps we can look at potentially the committee meetings. But if Councilor De La Cruz says that even if we're spread apart, 4 folks wouldn't be socially distant from each other. One thought, and I don't know if it's possible to do something like this, but I've seen other governmental bodies just use a different space, a space where folks can be spread out. So I'm not sure if that's a possibility. I think that I know that as far as there are different people, different communities are opening up, but I do understand that those communities, not all communities are the same, and every community is working through this issue in a different way, even though we're still all in the Commonwealth. So that's definitely a concern of mine. I'm wondering if we could think about using a different location so we're all spread apart, like if we're in a gym or auditorium of some sort and everyone's sort of spread apart, then there's less there's less of a chance that something might spread. And I want to echo Councilor De La Cruz's thought that I hope that perhaps with your leadership and while our current mayor, who used to be our council president, are there, that there could be some discussion about doing some remodeling of the chambers. I'm not necessarily just thinking about myself, but just for future councilors and for the future generation of leaders here in this city. I think that currently, as Councilor De La Cruz mentioned, the air quality within that room isn't the best, and I think not just thinking about this current crisis that we're dealing with, but just in general, I think that's something that we need to look into. And this is, and I'm saying this not in particular for just us city councilors, but the individuals that come in to use come into the room and to see our events. At the end of the day, that those chambers, the city council chambers, but they're the people's chamber. That office is not ours. It belongs to the residents of the city. So I just want to sort of put that forward to hear your thoughts on it, Council President. And thank you again, Councilor De La Cruz, for your statement.
So that thought is on the table. So the pros and cons of going to a different location. If we go to a different location, doesn't mean that we have the equipment to be able to do hybrid. So if we go to a different location, we're going to go to a different location, which we can do. And it would be like the old days in this pre-COVID in a city council, we would be in the room and but I don't know. Again, it's a question of technology, and from what I'm hearing and talking to people, and I can explore that further if the council wants to, but the initial responses I've been getting is we just don't have the equipment to do what we need to do at at a school facility, even at the high school, hypothetically, which you would think would have the best equipment in the city. Even in that setting, I'm told that that's not enough. But if that's something you want me to pursue, I would take that on, and I would certainly go back there and ask a very pointed question. The other point, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, Council President, if you don't think that's, I'm just trying to think outside the box. If it doesn't, if we can't, put this in, especially right now, maybe if it was November or December, I would say we could figure out a way to live stream. But if you think that, we wouldn't be able to do something like that, I think that's fine. Just a question, when you were thinking about all of us coming back together, were you essentially thinking that we would all come back together, or folks would take turns? I'm not necessarily, so much concerned about myself. I'm, within a couple of weeks I'll be fully vaccinated, but I'm just thinking about just others in general. So were you thinking that we would all just be sort of like similar seating arrangements as in the past, or was there some other model you were looking into?
So what I'm going to put somebody on the spot who doesn't expect to be on the spot. I see that ISD Director Romano is here, and I'm going to ask him to come on board and really put him on the hot seat. And I'm sorry about that, Mr. Romano. But to answer your question, I mean, I was thinking if we were going to go in a certain direction, that we would take it incrementally. We would take it with committees first. And I think, and I could be wrong on this, I think that if we were to spread out with 4 members only around that dais at the city council chambers, and then there's 2 seats open between members, that might, with the plastic partitions, that might be enough. I think that we're approaching the right spot on that. Not to be argumentative, but my sense is on that. And if Mr. Romano can hear me and is with us, he and I went, and he went to the chambers, and he did some kind of looking, just to kind of gauging roughly how things were over there. And so if he comes on, I'm going to put him on the spot. So that's
Can you hear me, Council President?
Now I can hear you. So I'm hoping
all right. I am mobile, so you probably can't see my video, so I apologize. I'm mobile, but I can hear you.
Okay. So we're talking about the chamber. That's the first question. So if we were to have 2 seats between city councilors, roughly how much space is that? Do you recall?
That is a heck of a question. It's pretty close to that 6 feet. Obviously 6 feet is the standard. That's what, we would go by. That's the CDC recommendation. And just to kind of put all of you and your fellow city councils on the spot also, I would encourage all of you to get vaccinated. And I think that would be a tremendous effort towards being as safe as you can if you haven't already. And I'm not asking if you have or not, but just throw that out there. Everybody should be vaccinated, everybody in the city of Lawrence, and that's how we would be the most safe. But of course, 6 feet is the recommendation, and that's what we would have to go by.
Okay, my sense is that I was doing that by 2 seats before everyone, and as a matter of fact, that gives us an extra seat. We can actually take a seat out and make it a little bit bigger. My suspicions, and we can certainly, we don't need to make a decision tonight necessarily. I want to move this along though, because I think I know that we're all feeling people want to see us and want to see us at chambers. There's a lot of that. So I will make another point of going here and actually taking the tape measure and doing that. And I will report back specifically on that item. Councilor Payano, you also had a question regarding the about other space, and I don't know.
Council President, you don't necessarily need to answer that. I know that there's a bunch of other stuff on the agenda, so you can probably talk to me offline on that.
Got it. Are there any other councilors who wish to give their sentiment on this? Councilor Levy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for all the effort that you've been doing so to make sure that we all can come back to the city chamber. But I agree with my councilor Maria de la Cruz and with Councilor Payano also regarding the condition of the chamber of the areas that we have at the meeting. House means air over there is terrible. And and so everybody that is being sitting in there, that sometimes it's very hard for us to breathe. Principal during the summer time when we meet, so it's very hard. And like Maria mentioned, Councilor de la Cruz mentioned, so many things that we all know, the windows is very hard to open for us to breathe. If when it's cold, it's too much, or maybe it's too hot, or when it's too hot, it's too cold. And I saw the picture that also you sent it to us regarding this partition or division. That partition will not do anything, because if you sit at the back of the table, the partition is on the chair, the partition is on the chair, the table. But between us, there is nothing. It's at least 1 feet between each one of us to be sitting when we sit in there. So if this is if we're going to put partition, we have to put a partition in between us, because nothing is going to happen with the partition over the table. The using of the mask, sometimes I know it's very hard. I have sometimes some breathing, and I don't mind to say, but sometimes I have some breathing, and the mask get me very, when I use it, it's get me very, very, very bad, and maybe we have to be getting in and out. See, we start coughing with the mouth, we cannot be breathing because the air in there is not good. I'm sorry, this is one of the things. So I don't know regarding the public, maybe it's going to be two people sitting in one of the chair right over there that we have, the bank that we have. And I don't think so that we're going to be able to feed 50 people or 25 people right in there, maybe at this point. I'm already vaccinated, but still I'm here at home. So I try to be safe, and I would like to know everybody to be safe outside. So, and we have to be taking a lot of care. So if we are asking people to be, with some distancing, like Council Payano said, like with the school department, with teacher, with everybody that is been working. So we have to start doing by ourselves too. So I think so that's to cover is, I don't know, if so many things that I don't think so that the chamber is ready for none of us to start right in there. 2 or 3, maybe, or 4, it cannot be for it, maybe we can afford to be for cancer there, but the full counseling is not ready to be all time when we have a meeting.
And thank you, Councilor Levy. Any other councilors wish to comment on this matter? No.
Mr. President, is there any partition that can be put in between us?
So the partitions, thank you, Councilor. The partitions that you saw were the partitions that were used during the last elections. And so we were just repurposing what we already had in essentially in supply from the elections division. I'm not aware that there is any full length ones that we have. I'm going to have to guess if we decide to go that route, those would have to be purchased or ordered, unless or we have to acquire it from somebody else. And again, I don't know those details about the cost and procurement. I don't know those things, but if that's the direction that we're going in, keep in mind, this whole thing may go away starting August 1st, potentially, right? Potentially. So what I'm hearing is some juggling. So I'm hearing that we're not ready yet. There's issues. There's air quality issues inside the council chambers. And then we have other issues regarding a lot of other things that we just discussed. But it doesn't sound like we're ready to go ahead right now. And I'm not hearing that we want to do it at the subcommittee level, even that at this point. That's not what I'm hearing. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, though. Even if we get the yes from the DPW and they say, yes, we're going to need to do some systemic changes inside the council chambers, that's probably going to be a capital improvement project. I'm guessing. I don't know I don't know how much that costs. And quite frankly, I don't know how quick they can go ahead and do that. I will, based on as the council president and hearing what you have to say, that's the request I'm going to make. Now, how quickly they can act on it before whatever time, I don't have an answer to that. So that's the challenge. We may not have what we're looking for regarding air quality samples and then checks and then filtrations and the things that you're looking for in a timely manner. That might be I'm throwing a date out, October issue. I have no idea. Meanwhile, August might come and we might have to be in there. We might have to be in there. And I want us to have this conversation with our expectations. But am I going down the wrong path saying status quo right now is what I'm hearing? Status quo, keep doing what we're doing until something changes with the law, with the emergency preamble that the governor has, or B, we somehow quickly, I say magically, I don't mean to be facetious. We somehow change the setting inside the council chambers with the air, which I don't think that's going to happen that quickly. Am I reading the tea leaves here correctly? Because I'll go back and that's fine if that's where we are. I'm not hearing anybody say, no, you're wrong. So that's my takeaway on this from what I'm listening to. Councilor De La Cruz, your hand is up. Did you have one more thing you wanted to add before we move on? Or are you good?
I just want to tell you that we might be asking for too much, but I think this is the great opportunity to think about renovating a place that is not in healthy condition for none of us. I understand the money could be an issue, but if we don't ask, we will never get. Then this is a great opportunity to put our situation on the mayor's hand, because it's his building. He need to fix it. But I understand that we need the money. Let's see day by day what's happening. People are getting vaccinated. People who are going to be coming to see us, are we going to request them to be vaccinated as well? Because we're not going to have somebody at the door measuring people fever or not. Then we have to be very careful on what we do, because we want everybody to be as healthy as well as us. Then let's wait. Let's do it day by day, gradually. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens tomorrow. I, you know, I recommend that you send a correspondent to the mayor and to put all of these points in place. We don't know what we're gonna get, but this is a great opportunity to speak about it.
I will take that as an action item, Counselor, and we're going to move on, but I think I hear what you're looking for. I think from all of you, and thank you for commenting. My action items will talk to information over to the mayor, DPW regarding that. And then we're going to continue as we are right now for all of next week's committee meetings, or nothing is going to change on that, except that, of course, the good news is that we're able to be live now on cable. That's a good news. And I'm going to pursue some other items as well. And I'll report back to you as frequently as I need to, just to keep you up to speed. So thank you for your comments, and I do appreciate that. So we're going to move on. Thank you, councilors. We're going to move on now to other items. The next item is under committee reports, document Budget and Finance Committee reports. This is document 7121. The chair of the Budget and Finance Committee. You have a report, sir?
Good evening, Mr. President. On July 29th, the Budget and Finance Committee voted by unanimous vote 3-0 to recommend item number 7121, the FY21 Firefighter Safety Equipment Grant Program in the amount of $25,998.98 as submitted by our Fire Chief, Brian Moriarty. And I submit that to you in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Abdu, seconded by Councilor Dela Cruz. Discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes, 100%.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much, Council.
Thank you very much, Chief Moriarty. The next item is number 5, withdrawals. Document 4017, Animal Incidents Reporting Response Protocol. That was sent up to the Public Safety Committee for withdrawal. Councilor, Chairman of the Public Safety Committee. Do you wish to make a motion on that?
Yes, Councilor Plant. The Public Safety Committee met and voted to send this to the full council to withdraw, voted unanimously to do that. I'd like to make a motion to withdraw this item.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
I think that was seconded by Councilor Levy. Okay, got that one right. Good. Discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion to withdraw carries. The next item is document 38718 Buckley Garage item. Chair of the Public Safety Committee, Mr. Payano.
Thank you, Council President. Public Safety Committee met, voted to unanimously send it to the full council to withdraw. I'd like to now make a motion to withdraw this item.
Second.
Been made and seconded by Councilor Levy. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Salinas Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion to withdraw carries. Counselors, there are a few table items I'd like to take up this evening as we try to incrementally narrow down this list. Could I get a motion, please, to take document number 3220, handicap parking deletion at 24 Phillip Street off of table matters?
So
please?
moved.
Motion made by Mr. Payano, seconded by Councilor Levy. Roll call vote, please.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Salinas Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Present.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries. Councilors, document 3220 is part of an earlier motion that we had a couple of meetings ago dealing with that same exact address. There is a handicap parking that's there. We've replaced it with other kind of parking restrictions there, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon. And this, we needed to have a motion to remove the handicap parking to make this thing fully functional. So there was a public hearing that was open. I don't believe, my notes here show that it's open. So for purely our rules, I'm just going to reopen this public hearing at this point. Not expecting anybody to speak on it because I have spoken to the members who are who are impacted. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on document number 3220? Hearing none, the public hearing now is closed on document 3220. And again, this is just to remove the handicap parking. We have already, as a council, have already made adjustments to that area. I would be looking for a motion to withdraw the handicap parking sign at 124 Phillip Street. Is there a motion?
Motion to withdraw?
Second.
And seconded by Councilor, I think, Payano. Discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Present.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Salinas Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, could I also request an emergency preamble, which is, I don't usually ask for in these things, but because of the sensitivity of the child that's at that house, could we attach an emergency preamble to that? And I should have asked that initially. To the motion was made by Councilor Levy. Councilor Levy, would you be willing to add that emergency preamble to withdraw the 30A requirement?
Yes.
Thank you. And I would hate to do this again, just to be on the up and up. Can we just have another roll if there's no discussion? If I could just recertify that with that, and I apologize for the redundancy. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Salinas Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Present.
Council President LaPlante.
President votes yes, the motion preamble. Thank you. Councilors, thank you so much. Just want to pare down a few of these items that I think are way past due and probably no longer pertinent. Doc, can I get a motion to take document 14219, Columbia Gas update by Mark Kempick, Columbia Gas president? Can someone take that off the table for purposes of withdrawal?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilor Abdu. I think it was Councilor Payano with the second. Roll discussion. And we're going to vote on withdrawal in a second. Discussion. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilor Salinas Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes. Is there a motion to withdraw this item?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Payano, seconded by Mr. Gonzalez. Discussion?
Question, yes, Mr. President.
Discussion, Counselor Levy.
So we want to withdraw this item, but still there are a lot of people asking regarding that they have not received any money, or they are waiting for those people to respond to them regarding whatever that they are supposed to get, and the gas company had never get in touch with them, and so where is the gas money? That is the question that a lot of people are asking for.
No, and thank you, Counselor. I think this is a good time as a reminder, and thank you for being, and obviously this is impacting a lot of the folks on the south side of the city. Thank you for your interest in helping them out. So just as a reminder, there's essentially two pools of money. One pool of money was for restoration funds that you're seeing in, at least mostly on the south side, for road repairs, other restoration works for the last 4 years. That was money that was part of the agreement of settlement money that came to the city for work. That work is ongoing. It's still going on this year. The second part of it deals with the settlement monies. Those were part of the class action lawsuit. And this is where you and I and others are saying, where's my check? Where's my check? I can't believe I'm not getting a check. That was a court settlement that was made with the attorneys that does not pass through, does not go through the city of Lawrence. It goes directly from Columbia Gas, because of the court decree, to the individuals who are part of that lawsuit, who are the class action lawsuit. There was a deadline for people to be a part of that. That deadline is long gone on that. I still get, to this day, sometimes I get questions regarding it. And what I do when I get those is I give the contact information that I have to the attorneys that are dealing with it. I don't know if they're required to do anything at this point because of the deadlines have since gone. But I have heard that there has been some movement there, but it's not a city council. It's not us. It's not a city government function. It's a court function at this point. As a matter of fact, on Sunday, somebody asked me about it. So that the issue like that still remains. And I do know that our legislative delegation is still getting hit with those, and they, I think, are doing something similar, just pointing them to the right direction with the various attorneys that handle it. So having said all that, we certainly can leave it here. I don't know what benefit that's going to be for anybody. We can leave it here. Mr. Kempick no longer works for Columbia Gas. So bringing him in, we can't do that anymore. So I don't know if anybody else has, there are other people on the council that are pretty close to this issue than I am. And if they have any more comments on it, I welcome it.
Council President, I would just say he's no longer working for Columbia Gas. So that individual wouldn't be the right person. If we wanted to ask a Columbia Gas question, and we're being served, so it just doesn't make sense. I think it's a moot.
Okay. I hope that's helpful, Counselor. Is there any other comments? If not,
Council President,
Counselor De La Cruz.
Mr. Campi retired. That's number one. Number two, it was a lot of information sent to everywhere. My neighborhood association has documents registering people to apply for the settlement, and they gave plenty time to the community in English, in Spanish. Plus, Ms. Susan Almono was engaged in a lot of meetings in the community where she was informing people. Then we had no excuse. If people didn't apply, the people from the South specifically, if you didn't apply, now the company is called Eversource. Then they have a reason why they changed the name. Columbia Gas was the problem. Eversource is the new company. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. President?
Counselor, any other counselor wish to speak? We'll go back to you, Counselor De La Cruz. Levy, excuse me. Counselor Levy, yes, you got the floor.
I'm not talking about people who did not apply. So there are people who already apply, inclusive. There are 2 families right now in one of the business that I asked them just to bring me the document that they already applied, and then nobody having contact, nobody having given any money to them or anything. So, and that's, I think so that we should keep table this item right now. And okay, the person who we have it in here is no longer working for the company. I know that the company changed name, but still somebody has to be the vocal person for the Columbia Gas that maybe can come and speak about it in case that we call them.
Council President, Senator Feingold was helping a lot of people. He was, they created a group of lawyers that were on Island Street, and they were calling people to apply. They did the job. They went through the radio because I heard them. I remember people from Mr. Feingold, they went around the community. They came to the neighborhood association. They provided papers. They have a site at the senior center, and we got information all over. We distribute a lot of paper on this 3A for that. Then I think now it's too late. It is kind of late to go back to them. We lost the momentum. We lost the momentum.
So I think we have some options here. I mean, I'm sensing people want to withdraw because they know that the person that was the CEO is no longer there. I sense that there's other people thinking there's other ways of people to go to. I also hear that there's still an issue. So I'm hearing a lot of different things. I guess the only way we can deal is with a vote, and we just determine if we want to keep it. If you want to keep it here, vote no. If you want to withdraw it, vote yes. So there's no other discussions on this. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor De La Cruz. Councilor De La Cruz.
Councilor LaPlante, the no is for?
This is a motion to withdraw. So a vote yes is a vote to withdraw. A vote no means it stays tabled.
Yes, withdraw.
Councilor Payano.
Yes.
Councilor Abdu.
Yes.
Councilor Salinas Reyes.
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez. Councilor Gonzalez. Noted. Councilor Levy.
No.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion to withdraw. What's the vote on that? I think it's a yes. Clerk, what's the vote?
5 yes, 1
Okay.
no, 3 absent.
Thank you. So the motion to withdraw carries. Thank you, councilors. The hour's getting late, but I do want to do a few real quick ones if we can. I thought this was going to be quick. Document 16219 is one that I put on there. Hopefully this will go quick. Is there a motion to take this off the table?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Payano.
Second.
Second.
So Levy. Roll call vote on taking it off the table.
Councilor Levy.
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez. Noted. Councilor Salinas Reyes.
Yes.
Councilor Abdu.
Yes.
Councilor Payano.
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz.
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes. Can we get a motion to withdraw this document?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Payano, seconded by Councilor Levy. Discussion? Councilor De La Cruz, your hand is up. Was that from a previous one or?
No.
Okay, take it down. Roll call vote, please.
Councilor De La Cruz.
Yes.
Councilor Payano.
Yes.
Councilor Abdu.
Yes.
Councilor Salinas Reyes.
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez. Noted. Councilor Levy.
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion carries.
Council President, I'd like to take out item.
Councilor Payano.
Thank you, Council President. Item 2220, and I'm seeing that 296-19 is similar. I don't know if I'm able to take them both out as a block, or if I should just do just one line item.
So just so I'm clear, 2220, you said,
Yeah.
Councilor? And what's-
Yes, that's Museum Square litigation, executive session anticipated. I'm taking them out for purpose of withdrawing.
Okay, so let's just do that one. And what was your second one? And maybe the same kind of.
It's the same one, except it's 296-19.
So why don't we do this? We could do it as a block because they're related unless somebody objects. So there's a motion to take document 296-20 and 296, I get that right, number right, 296-19, excuse me, and 22-20 off of the tabled matters. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Levy. Any discussion on that? Just to take off the table? Roll call vote to take off the table. 2 items.
Council Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez,
Mr. President.
Noted.
Okay, we're gonna finish this vote and we'll do that. Go ahead.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion to take off the table carries. Counselor Levy also made a motion to go past 10. Is there a
Second.
second? Seconded by whom? I'm sorry.
Pavel, Councilor Payano.
Counselor Payano.
Sorry, it's getting late.
We're almost done. Roll call vote.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Past 10.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes. Counselor Payano, a motion passed to take off the table. Counselor Payano, what is your intent with those 2 items?
A motion to withdraw. The item is now moot.
Motion to withdraw is made. Is there a proper second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Levy. Discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez, noted. Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Abdu,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, the motion to withdraw both items are carry. Counselor, there's many more. Unless you want to, I'm not going to bring any more up this evening. If any other counselors wish to take off any other tabled matters, I will save my ones that I want to bring up to the next meeting. But if you have something you want to bring up, any counselors, that's fine now. If not, we'll move on now to new business. 7221 handicap parking, 32 Jackson Street, that's going to ordinance committee. Prior invoices, ST Math Annual Services is going to budget and finance. One wall handball courts, Costello Park, that's going to the committee on the whole. Request to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, National Grid and Verizon is going to the ordinance committee. A request to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, National Grid and Verizon is going to the ordinance committee. Order to expend grant funds, Mass Department of Environmental Protection is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Order to expend grant funds, SSY program is going to the Budget Committee. Item 7921, order to expend grant funds, Shannon Grant is going to the Budget Committee. The acceptance of grant funds for mass development, 45,000 is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Acceptance of grant funds, the Mass DOT's Industrial Railroad Access Program is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Proposal to regulate outdoor dining within city and sidewalks, amend Title 12 to the city's municipal code, is going to the Ordinance Committee. Proposed changes to administrative fees for municipal boards is going to the Ordinance Committee. The borrow of funds of up to 58 million for the new police station project is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. And the home rule petition to legislatively recognize Jacob G. Counselor Abdu, how do you pronounce his last name?
Easy.
Easy, thank you. That is going to the Ordinance Committee. Budget and Finance, when is your meeting?
Wednesday, the appropriate date. Wednesday, let's see here. I think it's the 12th. Wednesday, the 12th, 7 p.m.
Thank you. Wednesday, the 12th, Budget and Finance. Personnel, anything?
I don't believe there's any new items, and there are no items to be discussed, so nothing.
Okay. Housing Committee, is there a vice chair of housing? Anybody on the Housing Committee? I don't think there is anything, but is there any Housing Committee members who can speak on this?
Council President, there are no items for the Housing Committee, so we would not be meeting.
No housing, public safety?
Not at this moment.
Oh, no, at this point.
I'm sorry, Counselor Levy?
No, what I said is no item at this point.
Very good. And the ordinance committee, there's plenty of stuff there. When's your normal ordinance committee meeting? What day is it typically?
Next Tuesday at 11. I mean, May 11.
So it's on a Tuesday. So next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Next Tuesday is ordinance committee. That's the typical time.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Very good. Am I missing any committees?
No, Council President, but I would just say to yourself and our chair, I think for the last few budget meetings, we've had applicants, like individuals that are coming to us, asking us to make certain decisions, and not all the documents are presented to us.
Yeah.
I just think that we need to, I don't know if it's maybe sending Teresa sending an email, but we need to be a little bit more adamant that as counselors, we need, at least 24 hours, 48 hours of time to just review the documents that are being sent to us. And I think that, we're getting it last minute, or we're not getting it all, and we're just sort of waiting for the next meeting. And I don't think that's a good way to do business.
Councilor Pano, I agree with you 1000%. City Clerk's office, I know we've talked about this before, and now you're hearing it from one of our colleagues. There's several different pivot points, right? The clerk's office is one of them. Let's try to be a little more vigilant if we can, just to make sure that when we're getting stuff, if there's no backup information, say we got to get backup, and if there's stonewalling, please have them contact me so I can talk to them about how important that is. I will also work with either Teresa and/or directly with the department heads to make sure that they understand that please get that information as soon as possible. It's not fair to us. We'll have to make a decision on their items. So I will reinforce that information. And I do appreciate those comments because I concur 100%. I think that is it, councilors. I don't think I'm missing anything.
Mr. President. Give me 1 second.
Councilor Levy, yes.
Okay. I think so that at one point we said that at least we need that whatever information, unless that this is an emergency, with 48 hours before. But also the document should be a lot clear, because sometimes it's very hard for us to read it. Like some of the map or whatever that is presented to us, it comes in a completely black and white that you don't even know, from where you're going or what to read or what to see in there.
I agree, and I will reiterate that point. Let's hope we can move the needle on that, and we'll make that effort. I don't think there's any other business before the council this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Second.
Levy, and it's been seconded by Councilor Dela Cruz. If there's no further discussion, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor De La Cruz,
Yes.
Councilor Payano,
Yes.
Councilor Abdul,
Oh, yes.
Councilor Selena Reyes,
Yes.
Councilor Levy,
Yes.
Council President LaPlante.
Yes, thank you everyone for a fantastic meeting, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Mr. LaPlante, I need to know your birthday because I'm going to sing in French. Yes.
I will tell you offline, Councilor Dela Cruz. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.